Hello, Cancer. This is your timeless, the love variant reading. Please bear in mind a few things before we get started. These messages may resonate more if Cancer is found in your Sun rising and or Jupiter position. But let's say you're here for Cancer being Venus or even Moon placement. What you might be looking for is emotional redemption that this reading may not really provide. With that being said, doesn't mean it cannot resonate with you. Check out the description box below to the link to my sister channel where she covers the rest of the energies. Other things can be found in the description box below. Just be mindful of that. And the love variant reading covers whatever the love variant reading wants to cover, whether it's about being single, being partnered up, polyamory, karmic, divine, whatever may have you, is whatever she may want to talk about. So just keep that in mind moving forward. Past, present, and future energetical timelines could always play a role within a reading, so use your discernment to take all of that which belongs to you and to leave the rest behind. All right, we're going to go right in there. Cancer. Love variant reading for Cancer. I get a little bit of an attitude, like you really don't want to put time and attendance onto something, but overall life is great. I mean, you don't really have a lot to complain about. Your manifestation game is pretty on point for those of you who are really active in engineering your longevity within it. Besides that, there are some certain lulls in your life that you are ignoring. It's kind of like an ongoing Cancerian pattern, and yeah, it's just about when it's do or die time and having to address those issues, Cancers. But to be honest, it's not something that you can't handle because you've been down that road before. The Guide, Inheritance, Correction, the Archer, biding your time, planning ahead. Interesting. We have the Muse, Generosity and Naivety, and the Masquerade, hiding your true self. Yeah, projection. Yeah, I mean, the interesting feeling is that ultimately, if somebody were to get you on a very personal front, Cancer, I don't think you have a lot to complain about. For those of you who believe in your own version of religion or belief or construct of reality, it has brought you to where you are now. And pardon me for the sirens, are really annoying, but we're gonna have to try to push through here. So ultimately, there's a belief structure called faith, called life, that has kept you living. And that is what seems to correct all the wrongs in life. And when they come and correct all the wrongs in life, it has such a empathic feeling onto you that you really feel so moved by that. And that movement within you is the part that makes you very Cancerian, very vulnerable, very quote-unquote sensitive. I hate that word, but that's a word to be used in that moment. And just overall, just very how can I say this, fragile to the energies of beauty around you. You love unconditional love. You love going where the sun doesn't shine. You love being a support to someone. You love family. You love the pursuit of family. You love many people in one room and let it be a family, like family reunion. Like family is really, really a big thing for you. The problem is that there's still a false narrative, Cancer, and deep down, you already know what that is. There is an ego problem that you do have. I feel like the cloud around the ether is everyone checking their ego balance right now, because it keeps coming up in almost every sign so far that ego needs to be defined. Ego needs to be understood. So the ego that brought you to the place that you feel very grateful for is ironically not being understood by you. Meaning the accolades that your ego has achieved to give you the things that you find moving and find that They meet the surface of what it means for you to be a great manifestor, a great high vibrational law of attraction accruer. There's something about your personality that is flowing. It's flowing potential. This flaw is based on the fact that despite everything that you know to be true, despite everything that makes the truth that you know to be true true, there is a lack of honesty to keep it all glued together. There's a falseness coming across that if you don't pay attention to this, the narrative that you try to ignore will become your biggest fear, because your fear of ego needs for you to address that aspect and teach you that you're ultimately still in control, even if something doesn't necessarily go your way. There are a lot of Cancerian energies that don't like when things do not go their way. It is very crabby of you. It's very flighty of you. And maybe you have an attitude problem with the people that love you the most or are closest to you, or that you are spending most of your time with, or that seem to dwell without them knowing it's your own personal issue. But just pay attention to that, because this is a very draggy energy. I don't like this energy. It puts people to sleep, and meaning it's draining. It's a draining energy, and you're not feeding it any type of high vibrational juices, let's call it that way, for it to feel, one, that it has that it's gotten attention. It goes ignored. Like, the feeling is overwhelmingly gross. All right. And this time it would be in your best interest to look at the things that you have manifested for yourself, that you've worked for a very long time to achieve and receive, and you know you've never been wrong, and whatever it is that you've been chasing, what is the real reason why you're here, Cancer? Not because it's about tarot or the fact that, you know, you love to listen to readings or whatever, but what is it? What is it about the switch up? What is it? What is that? I mean, you gotta have to define that here. Because Sekhmet is not gonna read the energy as to why the energy reading the energy is wants to go to sleep. She's too high vibrational. She wants to stay up. Okay, so trying to practice putting more color into the scheme of what it is that you're doing will ultimately bring more obliterating honesty to your life, Cancer, where no matter what kind of ignorance or naivete you'd like to have, it won't remain long. Yeah, look at that. Overall, it's beautiful, fulfilling energy. A sense of compassion and self. You fought so hard to achieve this, to get what it is that you're asking for, and bam, bam, boogity boogie. But something is in there, and it's just not all that glitters is gold. And you keep being warned about this, but there's something that you keep muting this. I keep seeing a big mute button on what Cancer is pressing. Cancer is pressing the mute button. And it has a lot to do with sex, all right? It has a lot to do with that. It has a lot to do with two people meeting each other, and their sexual expression with one another is through the artistry of sex. But the problem in it being the artistry of sex is that it doesn't require the heart in order for you to have sex. So the heart sometimes gets confused with what the heart really wants, because the groins get answered and the heart does not. And that's the fundamental next step that Cancer has to understand, are the multifaceted ways to have multifaceted interconnections with individual. It's not about it's not about every facet of that multidimension existence is supposed to be difficult. No, it's about for you to understand that you're a multifaceted, multidimensional being. And if there's chaos in the vastness that you roam, you have to pull back and understand how to negate those future circumstances of chaos so that when they come, they're not chaotic. You are actually in Zen. That is the premise of being high vibrational and owning up the law of attraction manifestation for yourself, and still be humble to the cause of how gratifying they may be and the accolades of what they're providing for you. But if in the misery of that you still fall short in feeling fulfilled, it's because you're not picking up the glitter box and filling in your heart vessel with this glitter. It's the groin area again. It's sexual expression and infatuation of anger, of lust and passion. It's about two people needing to hold the hands instead of in silence and darkness, embracing each other, coming across each other. There is a complete disconnect with loving each other in light and not having understanding of each other's darkness. And that is a problem. That is a problem in the ethereal transaction of unconditional love. Someone's afraid of someone cheating, like because of the past. This person has had a past. Okay. I feel like Cancer, you have succeeded in getting the player that played everyone. And the person's past, they've cheated because they've used you to cheat on the person that they were with. And that narrative now coming into your quote-unquote family is also the narrative that's kind of like worrying your heart, whether or not this is something that you have to work on, if this is something that can work itself out, like literally work itself out. Give me 1 second and close the window. So there's someone who came in really hot and heavy, and this person loved what this person had to offer. And at the same time, this person understands that the choice that they've made by choosing you, Cancer, is something that they do understand requires work. That they do understand. But there's a huge however to this, all right? There's a huge however to this. If for some reason you've become the person that this person cheated on with and you became pregnant and there's a life to be had to this relationship, or even wanting it, even wanting that fantasy, like wanting to pull someone away from another person, it's not... For some of you, you've already succeeded in doing this, okay? Like, you've already succeeded in doing this, and Ether is like, whatever. Like, you're not getting your pain because Ether wants to damn anyone or put damnation onto anything. You're receiving the pain because you yourself are not honest. There's something that you're not being honest about, and as long as you don't see that honesty not being disclosed, you'll continuously feel like in this weird bubble that you don't really know why you're in. Like, it's kind of difficult to pinpoint here. But yeah, like the devilish work of a Cancer is that a Cancer will be really good and convincing everyone around them that Cancer loves them. This Cancerian loves everyone. And the Cancerian will live in the beauty of everyone being loved by them, because when everyone thinks they're loved by a person, they're going to be active, orientated people. They're going to be giving things. They're going to be providing things. They're going to be sharing things. Their shit has been activated. And Cancer, you know how to activate their heart chakra and their groins. All right, so people are giving you shit left and right that you have no problem in receiving because you love that shit. But the problem is, there's a problem, is that not all mother's love is mother's milks of nutrition. Not everything that you do goes unpunished. Not everything that you do has just beauty in it. Everything that you do has a shadow aspect to the other side of its existence. And it needs to be just as entertained and given attention to, just like the one thing that you love. Everyone hates shadows because they're so fickle. They're rude, obtrusive, and worst case scenarios, they're dangerous. And so when we have a behavior within ourselves that gets tricked over time to how to be with relationships or how to be within the relation of people, when it comes to our ego and gratifying our ego, if we don't pay attention to how we are also manipulating the manifestations of what we think is love, we're going to be blindsided into seeing what actual love really is. And this is kind of like that. It's not to say that the person you're not with doesn't love you or that there's no love to be found. Is that, what is it about within you that you don't love about yourself that you won't admit? Because that's the polishing thing that needs to be broken so that you understand. Stop polishing it. Allow it to get a little bit dusty, a little bit unruly, and have a sense of expression for itself. Yeah, look at that. Chaos of the mind with the 9 of Swords energy, all right? Like, there's something that you're not doing, Cancer. You keep looking at other people. It's easy to look at other readings and, blame the other person, especially when there's a shit ton of fucking collective readings out there and whatever, right? So what becomes intriguing is to make it a narrative about you, the listener. Why is you, the listener, so determined to fix yourself in the narrative that another person also has to do the fixing? Like, if you do the fixing and you outgrow an individual because they're no longer fixing or they don't want to fix, then that means you've outgrown them. And you have to accept that. And you have to be the one to teach your heart to be okay with it, because your heart doesn't function as the brain for all your organs. It just provides the blood. You have to make sure it makes sense. You have to make sure it's nutritious. You have to make sure that you know how to detox the negative shit, and also understand that emotions is a sign of, more often than not, a natural detox. There are choices. That you've always made. That just prove that they have been choices because of instant gratification. You knew there's choices to be made. Some of you are Reiki practitioners here and understand the power of rational choices and the rewards for making them. But the more you go into the depthness of emotional independency, emotional need and gratification, you realize there's a major, 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 major sense of accountability that you must have to have with every trigger that gets executed at that moment of awareness. And when you don't have that, Cancer, you become manipulative and wanting that to be substituted by another individual. And those choices have led you to have third-party elements, being untrue, unfaithful, flirting, testing on limits, or just testing the foundations of thinking that the relationship that you either were in or in has room to break. But then ultimately you also came so far to get here. It's almost like you don't really know what it is that you want, besides knowing that everything that you have right now is everything that you've always wanted. So sitting now with a bit of confusion is an irony to the cause of you having made all the decisions to get you what it is that you are actually pretty content about. The window is really small here to understand how nitpicky the universe is and to finding a flaw that matters. Meaning, in all the light of what you're doing, there might be spectrums within what you're painting that might be disgust at somebody and finding no interest in it. You know, like those things can be fickle. Like, okay, if there's flaw in me liking purple and you liking violet, then or blue, or we argue how deep the colors of purples and violets are, from indigo to I don't know, whatever. There are all these nuanced distractions that when there are differences, they still get ignored because they're like passable disagreements. But when the ether is being asked by you and others to be specific in its delivery and in prayer or whatever, it becomes really difficult for ether to point at something besides every nitpicky situation to give you the window of opportunity to address. But I feel like the majority already have been told the window of opportunity it is, but you keep ignoring that because you think, it's whatever. It happened such a long time ago. It's not important. I did that like 15 years ago. Why would that bother me now? Why would I even play a role now? That kind of thinking. Like, to think that would be stupid. Like, really stupid. No shot at making somebody feel dumb. It's just stupid. It doesn't make sense. And everything that this power of this card gives me, that you actually have nothing to fucking complain about right now. You really don't. Yeah, people come in and cause chaos, whatever, but you're stronger than that. Ultimately, what you do enjoy is the fiery chaos of drama. It's engaging. It keeps you social. So although there's like a little mess here, it's not that bad. Yeah, you may understand Three of Swords and be like, oh, fuck, yeah, my heart. But no, keep it real. Your life is not as bad as it may have been even that 15 quote-unquote years ago, or 15 minutes ago even. Like, it's not. There's something you've learned from then to now that makes you 1,000 million times worthy of understanding any kind of negative that asks you to go lower in frequency, and you're like, I'm not going lower in frequency now. I'm high vibrational shit. Some of y'all thought that having a child with someone would solidify a union. I mean, in more ways than one, it did. Temperance, Ace of Cups. So ultimately, what it with the Temperance card here taking the front here, we have the desire to understand why you don't really have a lot to complain about, and that maybe the things that you want to complain about, they can easily be fixed. It's just, you have nothing else to say if if you don't pay attention. Like, I don't know, it's weird. Like a weird rush around me just now. So the feeling, no, this doesn't go here. So we have a 5 of Swords, the Wheel of Fortune, and the 5 of Swords here. So, all right, so these distractions. All right, so ultimately, what we're feeling inside is something that cannot be understood very well, and that's saying a lot, like, about a lot of people, right? It's hard to understand sometimes what we feel, or to bring words to our feelings and have them be satisfying, or have them be have them make sense for ourselves. So all those comes in with the 7 of Cups energy, with the 3 of Swords in the background. It brings really that honesty factor, that it's really hard to put truth to a situation. It's really hard to always stand upright and fight for yourself. You've done it for a very long time, Cancer, and that's where you're really diligent and really forthcoming in providing your unconditional love. The 7 of Cups here is usually an energy that kind of brings a bit of like wishy-washiness, I want to say, like unstructured. It doesn't necessarily really know what it's looking for or really wants, but with you being the water and land species, it's like, ultimately what's emotionally gratifying for you. And if you're a parent, you even more so can feel the vastness of how deep your intuition can take you into understanding land and water energy. And ultimately, that's your Wheel of Fortune. That's where you have an amazing bounce back to understanding struggle, to understanding that, if things go too deep and too dark, you have to swim up and fight for the right to party. Anyway. So ultimately, that's what you do, all right? You take any challenging front that ever has existed to your choices, or people try to put onto you, and you're like, fuck it, I'm gonna fucking do this, all right? 10 of Wands is that card for me, all right? You're bringing it home with the Page of Swords. The Page of Swords is saying, listen, I know what's going on, this Page of Swords energy, but I'm not really liking it. And so I have to stand up, again, that stand-up energy, to be more content with what I've always understood, and becoming more of it. Like, the page will turn into the queen, which turn into the king, which will turn into the magician energy, all right? And that will all lead you back into that home space, that where you feel injured before, you'll return to that notion, and you're healing it. There's the King of Swords. So you're going to heal it. That 9 of Cups is like the narrative of wanting to be that Queen of Swords energy, learning your compassion to these things and making sense of them, all right? Literally taking the water element, the air element, and making them make sense. Emotional redemption, all right? In a way, this reading is not about emotional redemption. This is about clarifying the light to get you to understand the moment you decide to seek emotional redemption, all right? That's where that energy comes in here, okay? Where this red and blue make purple, of that color we were talking about earlier, and that will feed into why the Ten of Swords will make you finally understand what needs to be understood, crossing your T's, dotting your I's, and all those swords will manifest themselves into opportunity. One sword for the King of Swords is illuminated, is the sword to fight with, is the reason why you honor every sword that has come and backstabbed you. All right, because you bring a reason to the thing that you understand. I said the Seven of Cups is usually wishy-washy energy, but that you, Cancer, understand that energy. And then you have the Father of Swords, the King of Swords energy show up on top of it. Pretty damn cool. All right. Ugh, Eight of Cups, yeah. Yeah, which is a good thing, all right? We want to clear the water element out, all right? I mean, it sounds shitty because I'm saying it too, water sign, but with those emotions, they got to go. They got to move. They got to portray you much better. They got to illuminate, leave footprints to where you've walked by you continuously remembering to move, all right? But you're not going to walk over shattered glass and get cut even a little bit. You're just not. Look at that. Mother of Swords and the Knight of Swords. The whole fucking Swords family came up after I mentioned them Page of Swords energy, all right? It's about understanding you and more of you. And then taking that power and becoming it and allowing it to be an active anchor, all right? You pick it up, you move with it wherever it wants to move, and then you drop down whenever you're ready to hibernate. You pick up all your bullshit. You don't just hand it off little by little and ask other people to fix it for you, or to ignore your bullshit so that you can manifest through other people. All right, it's not that there's anything wrong with about that, but it's about being able to have that level of control, seeing that adventure run around and come true. But then again, Cancer, why are you here? Right? What is that little tiny thing that you have, quote unquote, wrong within your bubble of existence that you can't feel like you can trust yourself in fixing? You can. You literally are in the making of it, right? You're literally looking at your emotions of the past with the Nine of Cups energy. You're making them make sense for how abundant they've been working out for you up to this point now. And you're using that to bite back, to fight back, and put reason into where it needs to be at this time. All right, we have emotions as a gateway. It's not moving on, I fear. It's time. You have galactic light and failures transform into art. All right, Cancer, I will leave the messages where they are. I ask you to have a wonderful morning, noon, or night, wherever you are in the ether of this time and space, and may you keep flowing, growing, and glowing. Take care.